Gotcha.
That was an E5.
$120 a month.
Hi,
That's
Joe.
it.
That was it.
We are in Je Lajoie's home, and you have a middle name, Joe. It's Roland.
Roland.
And we are filming at 142
Logan Street.
Logan Street in Gardner, Massachusetts. And we're here to talk with Joe today about his experiences growing up in Gardner, as well as his experiences in the military. So, why don't you start with the day you were born, and where you were born at, and whether you were born at home or in the hospital, and the year you were born, and any unusual conditions about your birth?
Yes. The one that was unusual is that they didn't have the name right. My name is actually Roland Joseph LaJoie. And when I went into service, I had to get my birth certificate, and I had to go by that, and it read Joseph Roland LaJoie. So I go by Joe, but actually it's Roland. The dates of birth they had it the 29th, and I was born on the 30th, that I could figure out.
Okay, the 30th of what?
April.
Of April?
April. 1924.
1924.
And I was born on, what's the name of that street now? Oh my goodness. I always say Crossroads, I can, in a 3-apartment house, 3 of us were born there. 2 of my sisters and I. My grandmother delivered the 3 of us.
She did. Wow.
That was, in those days, you didn't go to the hospital. You were all born at home, you know. Wow. And what I remember after that, let's see, was living,
Were you the oldest?
no, my sisters, I had a sister Flora, 10 years older than I am. And they're all dead now but me. So there's Flora, and there was Rachel, Irene, and my brother Leopold, which was 4 years older than I am, and there was Eleanor. I was 6 years older than Eleanor, second from the last, okay?
Okay.
And I remember moving down Little Canada from where I was born. Of course, they're all French down there, just about. And that's where I started school,
What school did you go to?
French school, Holy Rosary. That's where they started. In those days, if you were Catholic, that's where you landed. And I had trouble. My mother felt sick. I think it was nerves and something else. She needed care. She kept crying and slapping herself and scratching herself. And, well, now how could you bring up a family like that? So there was 3 of us home at the time. My brother, my younger sister and I. The others were doing housework. In those days, you were lucky to find a job doing housework. Even times were hard then, very hard. That was during Depression.
Right.
All right, so far?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lousy bringing up. Terrible. It seemed like I wanted to skip away from home all the time. She told me that she wished she tried to get rid of me, couldn't get rid of me, to say that to a little kid. She beat me up, scratched me. I got at the point where, why don't you just bang me around, but don't scratch, I said, burned, you know. Kids were laughing at me. And I'd go to my father's folks, you know, they knew that was going on, they wouldn't do nothing about it. Nothing was done about it.
What was the name of your father?
William. And nothing was done about it. And when I reached the age of 13, my aunt lived close to me. She had 10 children. Her name was Landry. Cy Landry, the mayor,
Yeah.
that family.
Oh.
She's my aunt. So anyway, they knew what was going on and they took me in.
Wow.
That helped a lot. And she had 10 kids. Very nice. And my father's sister, what a nice. It was so nice living with somebody who was, good to you. And I stayed there for a while. And from there, I went and worked on the farm. And I'm telling you, in those days, they really worked you. Get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, a little kid, milk cows and clean the barn and out in the fields. And they really got their money's worth out of me, which they didn't pay me anything.
Were you in school at the same time?
Yeah. So anyway, from there, I left the farm and got a job in the factory. I worked in for 3 years, making carriages in Gardner here. And I worked there for about a couple of years. Then the war broke out. And from then on, when the war broke out, of course they had, the draft was on. We had a large contingent of fellas that were ready for the service here.
What were you in? Were you in elementary, junior
Yeah,
high,
yeah.
high school?
Junior high.
Did you graduate from high
No,
school?
I didn't graduate, no.
Did you finish junior high?
Yeah. Well, anyway, from there, let's see where I am now. Yeah.
That's what it was
So, like I say, they had passed a draft. The first draft was right after the war, 18 to 28. And everybody, seemed like everybody and his brother was either being drafted or enlisted in the service. And I wanted to go in. So it was a cold December morning. I had 1936 Graham Page. I've never heard of that car. And I got in the car alone and drove to Worcester. I didn't even know where they were listing, and they're listing in the post office building in Worcester. I could say there was long lines. It seemed like everybody was enlisting in the service at the time. Well, that was shortly after the war, too. And I got in the Navy line, and it took me all day to just enlist. And then I left for the service. A little skinny kid, my brother-in-law told my mother, "Don't worry about it, he'll be right back. They don't want him, he's too thin." I weighed 117 pounds, just enough that I got in. I wasn't in bad shape, wasn't in good shape at all.
What day did you enlist? Do you know? You said it was a cold December. It
was December the 3rd, 1942.
So it was after Pearl Harbor.
A year after.
Okay.
So the reason why I caught the battles that I did, I happened to go in a year after. And I know it now. I didn't know at the time, I didn't decide, didn't figure it out. It took a year. In fact, they had songs out of that in those days. I'll be back in a year, little down. And after a year, our troops were really, well, they figured they were trained. And they were ready for invasion. They were ready to fight. They had training for 1 year. That wasn't that much. And I knew that at the time that I'd probably catch quite a bit of it. But what happened is they put me in the amphibian force.
Where did you do basic training at?
Oh yeah, before that. The basic training was in Newport, Rhode Island for 3 months.
So you joined the Navy.
Right. I joined the Navy. I didn't say that's right. I joined the Navy and I went, yeah, okay. And
So where you were sent to Rhode Island for basic training?
I was there 3 months. I come home on, they take you home there. You go home on leave for a week after that training. So I come home for a week. And when I went back, they had to land the troops. Everything was overseas. The only way they could do it was with amphibian force. So we developed a pretty strong amphibian force in a hurry.
So what ship were you on?
The first one was a Thurston.
Okay.
Thurston, and I caught that. Well, before that, though, I went to North Africa on what they call an LST. It's a landing ship tank. It was the first convoy, the first ones that ever sailed. It carried 50 tanks.
Wow.
Boy, that was handy at that time. They knew you needed that. But anyway, when I got there, they trained me some more in the little boats there. How to get in and out of the beach and so forth. And then from there I went aboard the Thurston in Oran, North Africa. And invasion came up, invasion of, they thought we were going to go, they thought we were going to land in Sardinia, but we landed in Gila. We tried to fool them, but we didn't. From there I made that landing. That was with, what's the matter? I don't even know.
Well, what was your actual job? Were you driving the boat, or were you
Yeah.
one? You were the one that was driving.
We'll call it a coxswain.
They called it a coxswain.
Coxswain, yeah. And made the landing at 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was, in fact, that out of all the ones that I did, they figured Iwo Jima and all that. I think the worst one I had was there in Sicily. They threw everything on it. It was supposed to be a sneak attack. We went in, it was dark. And all of a sudden they shot in those flares, and they lit us up better than day. It was terrible. And all hell broke loose. And I was there for a week. We unloaded the troops. Then we'd unload the cargo, whatever they needed, their food, ammunition, whatever we had on the ship. It'd take about a week to unload it, you know. So then we came back into North Africa. And we went into Oran. We just got in the harbor. And we had we were in the harbor. And my little boat, it would happen a lot because the propeller was broken, was bent. So therefore they hoisted me aboard ship, which I was up high. You know, when the ship is in the harbor, you're up high. And I was on the boom, way up high, when that happened. And I figured, Jesus, I got to get down. I can't stay up there. At least it would scrapple, you know. It was an awful raid. They hit the superstructure to kill all the officers. Well, anyway, I shimmied down the cable, the greasy cable, and I ran under the superstructure, so I wouldn't get hit with shrapnel anyway. That was the end of that one there, and then that ship there was pretty well banged up, so they repaired it enough to go back home. So we went to Algiers, and from Algiers, they left that ship, the Thurston left to go back to the States. And here we are, all ready to go. They had lifted the anchor. The anchor was coming up even. Sail out. Special machine anchor detail, we call it. And they called for 4 boat crews to apply at on the quarterdeck immediately. And guess what? One of them was mine. So we transferred, instead of going home, I transferred from there onto what they call the Stanton. And we watched that ship go off, and we almost cried, we wanted to go home.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it got as far as not very far, just outside of Greece there. And it got hit, and they sunk it. And
The
they
Thurston?
claimed all hands lost, I don't know, that's what I heard.
So the Thurston was hit,
Was hit and sunk there,
and they were sunk.
yeah. And that's the one I missed.
Wow.
So by being on the Stanton, within 2 months later, they wanted to invade Italy. And they claimed that was a battle coming from Salerno, Italy.
Salerno.
Yeah. So I made that invasion on the Stanton. No, top. They didn't wait for you, but they didn't wait for you, you know, with their arms open. Well, anyway, I made that one. And let me see. From there, we came back to the States. Yeah. Came back to the States. I had a month leave. And while I was there, I got a call at home. And it wasn't a call, it was a letter to meet a ship in Portland, Oregon. I said, what are they doing? What on the East Coast? I think I'd make the landing in France. I'd be in England, good, you know, with it, good duty, go in the Pacific. So I had to go in, I went to Portland, Oregon, and I caught the clay, was waiting there. And then that's where we made invasions with the clay, the Saipan, and Tinian. Now those two landings were very, very vital, because at the time we could not bomb Tokyo. And that's what we wanted to do after what we went through in Pearl Harbor. So I take part to the last man there, especially on Saipan. And after we took that, as soon as we took it, they started bombing Tokyo. So from there,
So you were victorious at Saipan.
oh yeah, we took it. Oh yeah. We lost a lot of men, Oh yeah.
And your job was to keep driving them in and out from the ship to the
We make a
shore.
landing, and then we empty our ship. That was our job. Yeah. About a week and a half.
So how many people were carried on your ship when you landed?
Well, a couple thousand.
A couple thousand fit on your boat, and
Oh, yeah.
you would bring it in?
Yeah.
Now, what about the landing craft that you drove? How many go in there?
How many on the ship?
No, not on the ship, but on the landing craft that you drove.
Yeah.
How many?
Oh,
are in
36.
36.
36, yeah. 36 gold, yeah. And let me see. And from there we went to the Philippines. There I made 2 landings, one in Leyte and one in Mangaingao. And like I told your husband, after that, Iwo Jima came up. And I was on the clay. Imagine that, they took me off the clay, put me on the Knox. The clay they came back to the States.
Really?
The Knox made the landing in Iwo Jima. So I was on the Knox. And I came back after that. So that was my landings. That was my landings on the ship.
How did you feel while you were driving it? What do you remember about all of that duty?
I did my duty. I'd get awful nervous at times. But I always did what I had to do. I'd see times you get so nervous you couldn't spit. If you're going in the beach, we went in and wave. They call it a wave. 6 boats. And it's only made out of wood. Joint steel is that ramp that goes down with the runoff.
Mm-hmm.
And when a shell hits that, especially like, anyone, the Germans had that 88, that famous 88, oh my goodness. But when we hit one of those, all you saw was black smoke. and he's right next to you. You better keep going. You're not gonna turn around. So that's you kind of dry up to the mouth up there, you know. But I was lucky, either lucky or I did it right. What happened is the main thing, and they always picked a day that was really rough to land, so they couldn't see you as well. The boats weren't built like that. Even they did that in France even. So anyway, the rougher it is, the harder it is to land those troops. Because that boat is going all kinds of ways, you know. And you had to go in, the stern had to be facing the ocean. If you didn't, if you went on the side, you had to stay there because the propeller would dig in the sand, see, and it would loosen the sand, and that's how you got out. But you had to have that, it had to be facing the ocean, otherwise you wouldn't get out, you'd stay there. They call that broach, the boat was broach. So it was broaches, you had to, and you had to stay with your boat that happened. But mine never broke, so I got it out, see.
So
And,
was your boat hit at all the times that you performed your mission?
I never got hit by a live shell.
Wow.
We had a lot of bullets hit it, you know. Yeah, full of holes, but we didn't hit by it. Live shell, I wouldn't be hit. Like I say, it was all wood, you know. So anyway, that was my job there. And from there, let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't end right there, that's for sure.
You lost a lot of friends, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Lost a lot of friends.
Yeah, and a lot of troops that I met. Sometimes we'd have them aboard ship for a month or so.
So you get to know
You get to
them.
know those guys.
You get to know them, then they didn't
Oh
come
yeah.
back. They didn't come back.
So anyway, let's see after that. Oh yeah. Let's see. Just a minute.
You were talking about Iwo Jima and being on the Knox.
Yeah, well, I went through that.
What do you remember about Iwo Jima?
All the landings were about the same routine.
You saw the flag go up at Iwo Jima?
But that I saw, yeah. Going in after the second day, I said, look I told the crew, we have a boat crew of 4 men. I said, look they're on top here, they're putting the flag up. That's what I said. Never thinking I was going to be as popular as it is, you know.
Right.
It was only they had it on a little stick and they put it up. It wasn't a nice looking flag.
But then they did it again the second time to make it look better for the cameras and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, but that's one you see now, it's a nice flag, it's altogether different.
Right.
But all they had was it was just put on the stick and pressed it in there. And let me see, from then on, we came back to the harbor, Oregon, and from there, from there, I called my wife up. I wasn't married, my girlfriend. I said, come on down, we'll be here for a while. I said, we'll get married. So she quit her job and everything. They signed it, they gave us some money, everything. All of a sudden, we looked on the docks and it was full of troops, Marines. There was 2,000 Marines ready to come on our ship. They sealed the ship. We couldn't get off.
Is this in Portland, Oregon, or is this...
Portland, Oregon.
So you had gone back on the Knox to Portland?
In Portland, Oregon.
And that's where you got married?
No, wait. Didn't get married there. From there, we loaded up with the troops and we shoved off. So we were gone 3 days and we're headed for Japan. It was a large convoy. It was like a city going towards there. There's so many ships. We have a lot of ships, you know. Everything you can imagine, battle wagons and cruisers and cargo ships, everything, the whole works. And we're going 3 days and they dropped the atomic bomb, then they dropped the hydrogen bomb. Of course the war ended. So we turned around, come back into, we came into San Francisco. But they wouldn't let us ashore. They dropped the anchor outside the harbor. And they were having a ball out there. You know, they were celebrating the end of the war.
Yeah.
There was confetti, they claimed, halfway up your belly. On Market Street, they were having a ball, but they wouldn't let us ashore. There was too many as it was.
Why wouldn't they let you ashore?
There was enough raising hell without us being there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So did you actually saw the bomb go down? I mean, the effects of it?
Oh, no, it had nothing to do with that. We were 3 days off. It would have taken, to go all day, would have taken at least a week anyway, before we got up there. Yeah.
But if they hadn't dropped that bomb, you would have been
We
invading
would have
Japan.
made the invasion of,
And a lot of people would
Japan.
have died if it wasn't
oh
for that.
my goodness, come to find out they had those well, they were using those kamikazes.
Yeah.
And they were hitting a lot. And they were either after us or the aircraft carriers. I forgot to put that in there. That was their meat. Of course, if they knocked off a troop carrier, that's a lot. Knock them off, and especially the carriers too.
Yeah.
Those kamikazes. They started those up in Lacey, in the Philippines. I saw the first one to come down. I couldn't get over my eyes when it first come down. Plane and all that on the ship. And they claimed that if we had made the invasion in Japan, we had they claimed they had 25,000 of those things. They had them underground, those kamikazes.
Right.
And they weren't that, we didn't even know they were there, they claimed. They were underground. And if we had went in there, they could have sunk every ship we had there. We could have lost the war right there.
Right.
And that's what made him decide. I figured. He ended it with an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he wasn't going to drop it. That's why we were on our way. We were going to invade it.
Right.
That would have been crazy. Crazy. You'd have lost thousands and thousands and thousands of men for nothing. Not only that, all of the civilians, they had their kids with rifles out there, the Japs, to fight their homeland, you know. You couldn't have won that. It was crazy. So from there, when the war ended, I got off the ship, and they put me on Treasure Island. And it went by, you had to have so many points. And the points went a lot by if you were married or if you had children. I was single, see. So I wasn't quite ready to get off, so they put me discharging them in on Treasure Island. They come off the ship by the thousands. And we had to name them and had to send them to their nearest, like if they were from Boston area, they send them to Boston or Philadelphia, wherever they were from. And we had to line them up and put them on the trains, and off they went to. So I was there for a while, and then finally I got discharged. And I was discharged in Shoemaker, a little base there in California. And I got discharged there, and I was going to stay there. Of course, as far as my marriage, it didn't work out with the war ended, see. And her job was ended. She was out in the Bronx. No, everything ended.
Is that right?
So anyway, that went out down the line. And I was thinking of staying out there, and I liked it in California. I liked it there. But then I changed my mind. I come home, and I was home about a year, and I got married. And from there on,
Then the job started opening up in Gardner for making chairs and stuff like that.
yeah, but yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You had to start from the beginning. Like even the refrigerator, we after we got married, we wanted a refrigerator. You had to put your name in it, see it. You had to wait a year.
Is that right?
So we had an ice man.
I remember that as when I was a kid too.
She put a sign out in the front there, how many pounds she wanted, and they put it in I picked up an old wooden refrigerator, ice box, and then my man would come and he'd fill it up, and then the water would leak down and it goes into a pan, and she'd forget the pan. We were on the third floor. The water going down. Oh boy, it's funny. Well, anyway, I only stayed there about 6 months. I was on the third floor. I was afraid to fall asleep. It was so dangerous there. One way out. It was so, it was so cold. You had those old windows and you could see the curtains go back and forth. And I was running 2 stoves. And those heaters years ago, they would heat up. And the hotter it gets, you could set your flame in it, see. But the hotter it gets, the higher the flame would go. Very dangerous. A lot of fires on that. I was afraid of falling asleep. So I didn't have any money. So my wife had a loan insurance. She said, I can collect $500 from my insurance. So I took out $500 and I bought a house in Templeton.
For $500?
And $500 down.
Down,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
$8,000.
Good for you.
And it was a nice house. It was part of the landlord's inn. You ever go to Templeton? They tore that down, but it was part of the hotel. It was a nice place. There was a house in front and a house in back. 5 rooms in the front, 7 in the back. I loved it there. And I was right across from the little school there, right in the center of town.
Oh yeah.
But my wife didn't like it there. She wanted to come back to Garden, so I sold it. And I bought this house in 1951.
Really?
I've been in this house since 1951.
So when did you leave the military? What year did you leave the military?
46.
46.
How are they doing, right?
You're doing great. You're doing absolutely great.
I told you just about everything.
You think so?
What was it like in Gardner when you were a kid compared to today?
Oh, all together. In fact, I should bring this out. The first winter that I came home, the few months I lived in Gardner, on the third floor there, I remember she sent me down we had a Christmas tree, and she wanted what they call a star that goes on top.
Your wife did?
Yeah, she said, go downtown and see if you can pick up a star for the top. And it was People's Hardware. It was a nice hardware. Oh, the square was so nice. It was full of stores. And it had snowed. It was just snowed a little bit, when I went down there. And they had the music playing. You could hear it all over the square. Honest, it was beautiful. Beautiful. It isn't like now. Everything is dead. Everything is dried out and falling down. But you had a lot of, you had Sears and Roebuck was right in town. The shoe store, everything was right there.
You have Goodnow Pearson's?
Oh, we had Goodnow. Oh, yeah, we had a lot of business. And if you wanted a suit, there was 6 places where you could go for a suit.
Wow.
And then now you have to go to Pittsburgh. Oh, it was altogether different. It's hard to describe. But this was a nice place to live. And there was a lot of work. They never made big money here, but there was work.
So what's your day of getting married? What was your anniversary to get married? What's your wife's name?
Martha Kempe.
Martha Kempe.
Yeah.
How did you meet her?
During the war. I was on leave. The last day of my leave, she went bowling in the Bowlerway on Main Street.
Oh yeah.
With Haywards.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with a soldier friend. And there was a hi-hat there, right across the street, a little bottom there.
Yep.
I said, let's go in for a beer. I no more sat down and she came in with another girl. And she asked me for a light. So I gave her a light, I lit a cigarette. And I started talking to her, and she lived on the farm, way in Westminster, out in the woods. But the house was dilapidated, so she couldn't live there in the winter. She lived with her sister on Smith Street here, the Corbin. So she was living in Gardner here. And I made a date with her right off the bat. I said, I'm going to have to leave the following day, but I'd like to see her, you know. So I did not see her. I saw her I met her in the Hollywood there in Gardner, where the Hollywood used to be. It was on Parker Street. And then I left for the service, and we hardly didn't know each other. Because all the time I was overseas, the only time, once in a while I'd get a letter with like a little note, like, because we didn't know each other, you know. And one thing I never got much is letters. And you know, it kind of hurts you when you're aboard ship. It's lonely aboard ship too, you know. It's the days are long, the weeks are long, the months are long.
Your mother and father never wrote to you?
No, I never got letters. And the funny part of it is, here's that girl right there. See her picture up there that she got engaged?
Yeah.
I've had a letter from her since she left 5 years ago, every single week, and it's still coming. The only way I could get rid of her, I have to tell her, don't send any more. They come every Thursday, I let her come. How can you figure that out? If I didn't do something like that aboard ship, I'd had a lot of letters.
Wow.
She's a sweetheart. She's married now. She's pregnant now, too. Yeah. Arkansas.
Wow.
You remember her?
Mm-hmm.
She's a nice girl. Quiet. Yeah,
So you got married in a church, or did you get married by the Justice of the Peace, or?
I was considered a Catholic. I didn't go to church much, but I was brought up a Catholic to please my folks, which I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have. They never did anything for me. They said, we'd like to, you get married Catholic. And she's a Lutheran. So instead of getting married as a Lutheran, any way I wanted, I felt bad after. She had to take lessons in the Catholic religion so I could get married, which was a lot of baloney. And then when it come time to get married, we couldn't go in church. She was a non-Catholic. So we got married in a priest's home. Can you imagine that?
Can't imagine that.
Imagine that.
You got married in the rectory?
Right.
Because she could not go into the.
She couldn't go in church. She was
She wasn't a Catholic.
Protestant.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lutheran. Now, see?
So
talk
what's
about prejudice, huh?
Yeah.
so what's your anniversary day? When did you get married?
September. Another thing, you know, I find it so nice. You know, what bothers me a lot, though, and I sit here a lot, you know, when you get older, you think a lot. You're not only lonely, you go back, and your memory goes back a lot. You know, you think about that as you get older. And you think of the mistakes you made, but you couldn't correct them, you know. Like, that was a big one there. Why'd I have that girl do that, you know? We didn't go to church after that anyway.
Mm.
And I often think, what if she was living now and be in the church that I'm in now? She would love it.
Mm.
In fact, my Ronnie's coming to church with me for Christmas. Yeah, he's gonna come. Want to see the kids. He likes to see the kids. You know? So anyway, I didn't go to church. I did very little religion. You know? I believe in God and all that, but you know, I just didn't get to church. But you know, now I love it. I love it. Look at, and not only that the religion is something, you know, they say it's true. Of course it's true. What I pick up there makes sense to me. Where the other one didn't make any sense.
So you joined the Mormon church?
Yeah.
What
I
year?
joined the Mormon church, yeah.
How long ago was that?
The Mormon church?
Yeah.
I've been there about 5 years, I think.
5 years? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have how many children? 4 children?
I get 4.
3 boys and a girl?
Yeah,
And you've lived here all that time?
all that time. Well,
Raised-
Rona was 5 years old when I moved here, and he's 64.
Wow.
And Nora was 63. There was only a year difference between the two.
The house still looks great.
Yeah, well,
Took care of it.
it keeps me warm. It's cool. There's a nice. For being in the city, I got a good piece of land. I make a garden. You know, I'm all right here. You know, it's fine. Good enough for me. Don't have to be fancy.
It's a nice house.
Huh?
It's a nice house.
Yeah,
It still
I,
looks good, too.
I put a few books here and there. You know.
So what are your favorite memories from living here?
Oh my goodness. Favorite memories. I don't know. But it's a tough one. I don't know. Being the neighbors. I just say the neighbors. When I moved here, I was a young man on the block. I was only a little over 20. And they were all old timers here. So now I'm the old timer, you know.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that.
We're going to put a picture
Oh,
of
okay.
you and your wife here with
Okay.
you, so she can get a
Yeah, okay.
idea of that handsome Navy guy and that beautiful woman look like. There's another picture of Joe and his family up on the wall there,
Okay,
too.
this is Joe Martha. What was your mother's name? Maiden name?
Alice, they were Patnos.
Alice Patnode?
Patnos. And the Patnos were, my daughter took that, what do you call it, where they check up on them, where they were born and all that.
Okay.
The Patnos were born in France. That she got. And the LaJoies were born in Canada.
So do you remember your grandparents?
Oh yeah.
What were their names?
Well, the old man, my grandfather was Frank,
Was that on your dad's side?
my dad's side. He was about 6'4", at least that. And how big he is?
Mm-hmm.
He looked like as big as he is, but taller. Big man. And he married a little woman. She was only about 4 feet, 3.5 feet high. A little woman, see. And my aunts were all good size, but the boys were small.
What was your grandmother's name?
Mary, yeah.
Do you know her maiden name?
No. I should know it. You know the trouble with names, I forget them.
Yeah.
I forget names even now, it's something terrible.
So what do you remember about your grandparents on your father's side? Do you have any?
Well, I remember that on my father's side, he was he bought and sold horses and wagons. I remember going to his house on New Canada, and he used to have about 15, 20 wagons. And they were beautiful, those wagons in those days. All the upholstery, you know, with the high class upholstery. I remember sitting in those, you know, and they gave us a ride in those. And I remember that well. But you know, when you went and visit them in those days, like once in a while we'd go visit. They didn't cater to little kids at all in those days. When you went and visited them, you had to sit against the wall on the floor, and your lips were sealed. They did the talking. You didn't have a chance to talk when they were there. The trouble is, they were talking about the neighbors. The only time you liked the neighbors after he was dead. When somebody dies, oh, he was such a nice fellow. He was the one they hated the most. But other than that, you couldn't say much. Very little, yeah.
What did you do in Gardner as a kid for fun? Did you have ball games, play baseball or anything?
If I went to play baseball, I'd get a licking.
Because they wanted you to stay working?
Mom made stay working.
Is that right?
So if I try to sneak it, but every time she'd catch me. And she'd give me a licking. And I played Oliver Chase Playground. That wasn't quite made yet. When they made that playground, I really wanted to go to the playground. I couldn't go to the playground. I had a lousy bringing up.
So once you got married, what was your job? Where did you work at?
Fairs.
At theirs, and you stayed there for how many years?
Stayed in Fairs. What happened there, a couple of years there, but then I went into service and the time accumulated, see?
Mm-hmm.
But the job wasn't no good anyway, you know, I didn't make much money. Well, anyway, I worked there, and then they had a strike, and they pulled it up.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went from one job to the other. I had so many. I did everything. I made stoves, I made carriages, I made chairs. I worked on the city. I did a little bit of everything.
Wow. Now, did you have 2 jobs back then to be able to raise 4 children? That was a...
No, my wife worked. She always worked. She didn't want to stay home. She just she would not want to stay home. In fact, when I first got married, she felt sick when I was in Templeton. I was worried. She kept taking her to the doctors, and he tried to give her vitamin, shots of vitamin and all that, and it didn't do any good. And she was worse all the time. So finally he decided, he said, Martha, you're going to have to go to work. And from the time she went to work, she was fine. The rest of her life was all right. She's one that couldn't stay home.
Mm.
She liked to be with people and liked to work.
Were there a lot of big dance halls in Gardner where big bands would play that come through Gardner?
I just missed the big ones. When the big bands used to come here, I was a little bit too young for that.
Yeah.
In my time, there was no big bands coming here,
Did your father ever talk about when he grew up here, around here? Was he raised in Gardner too?
He was born in Ashburnham.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He was born in Ashburnham.
Did he ever talk about his life when he was young?
Not too much. That's why his name was Lajoie, but it isn't Lajoie. It would change from Lajoie to Lajoie. That's why you live in Ashburnham and you see Lajoie Street and all that. That's part of his clan. It was there.
When did it change?
He's the only one that changed it. I don't know when. But his brothers went by Lajoie. My grandfather, uncles, aunts. It was all Lajoie.
How are you spelling Lajoie?
L-A-S-H-U-A.
Oh,
Lajoie.
Lajoie.
There's the Lashua Road. And
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
maybe he got mad at somebody and didn't want to keep the same name.
I don't know.
So he never gave you a reason why
He never did, no.
his name, how long did he have the name LaJoy? When did he change it? Do you know? When he was a
Never
kid?
talked much to my folks. Very little. It is not nowadays. It's so. Nowadays, I see how the kids are brought up, and you're so close to your kid, and vice versa. It wasn't like that, was it? It wasn't like that years ago. Not with my family, anyway.
Right.
What was your grandmother like?
Well, she had 6 kids, and she must have had at least 6 or 7 boarders. In those days, they had boarders. And she was a hard worker, took care of the family, and everything was done by hand, all the cooking and baking. You didn't have no McDonald's in those days.
What was the job your dad did?
Iceman.
Oh, he was the Iceman.
Iceman, yeah. He had horses. Then he had a truck.
Wow.
How about on your mom's side? Did you know your grandfather on your mother's side?
My grandfather, no, he was dead. He died a long time before I was born. But my grandmother, I remember her weighing about 250 pounds, sitting by the window, hardly walking. I remember the year she died, 1933. Well, we had some snow that year. They couldn't hardly get to the house. That's how much snow we had. I remember that well, that winter. Funny, huh? I remember that. Yeah, she died in the cold flat.
Do you remember anything about her? Did she make some special food that you liked, or have any mannerisms
No,
that you?
at that time, her daughters were going there and baking her pies and cakes and doing the cooking for her. Yeah.
Okay.
She was a large woman that didn't move much. She was in a chair almost all the time when I knew her.
Mm.
I delivered some ice there a few times. The ice house wasn't too far away, you know. And they'd load up there was no refrigerator, see? And they'd load the trucks up and they'd load the freight cars up with 100-pound cakes of ice. So we'd go up with a little wagon, you know, and if they broke a piece, they'd put it on the side and we'd grab that piece and put it in our little wagon and we'd push it about 2 miles, work our head off and sell it for 10 cents a piece, piece of ice. 10 cents was a lot of money then.
Wow.
My uncle would give me a dime. He said, "Go get a decent head." My father cut it with all butchers.
Really?
He said, "Hey, 10 cents, go get yourself a haircut." I didn't get a haircut. I wouldn't get some candy.
Do you know anything about your mom's upbringing and what kind of life she had when she was growing up?
I really don't know, but one thing I know that it's too bad that she didn't need what she was doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She needed care. The rest of her family, the sisters and everything, they were kind of high class even. One was in Springfield. They were well educated, they were well bred, I mean, they were all, and good natured. Oh my goodness, it was, you would never think it was the same family. It's, I don't know what made her so mean.
Was she French also?
Yeah,
French? What was her last name?
Patno.
Oh, she was a Patno.
And she was big.
Yeah.
When you got a whack from her, you flew.
Yeah.
And I fly too. But I was aggressive. I wanted to get her right back.
Yeah,
Mm.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so you don't know? Do you know how many sisters or brothers she had?
Yeah, she had, let me see, there was maybe, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 sisters and 3 brothers. 2 of her brothers fought in World War I.
Really?
Their name is on the monument.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. In Gardner.
What were their names? Remember?
George and Eddie, Edward.
George and Eddie.
And the other one that's he was a drunk. They told me, and he had 6 kids, and when he died, his wife was no good either. when he died young, he was a painter, and there was nobody to take care of the kids. She didn't take care. She was flirting around, you know. So I had to take the kids away from her. Now, my grandmother took the oldest boy, Pat, and my aunt Mamie in Springfield took the youngest girl. Come to find out, that girl that she took, there couldn't have been a prettier woman than that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she married rich bucks, you know. Very beautiful. Beautiful girl. Now the other 3 went to Belchertown and they were brought up in the home. 4, 3 girls and a boy. And they went through hell there. In those days they were tough there. And I think it's still that home in Belchertown.
So was your mom brought up here in Gardner?
Yeah.
And she lived in the city, not out in the country?
No, in the city. She was born on City Hall Avenue.
Wow.
Right about where the fire station is.
Yeah?
That was all woods then, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was a big barn there, big red barn where they used to shoot the horses and that, you know. Yeah. All the changed.
It's all changed, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What other changes do you remember? Was the
Well,
library?
The roads were hardly any were paved. They had the trolleys running from here to Athol and from here to Pittsburgh. The rails are still on the ground. They just covered them.
So how much did it cost to take a trolley ride?
About a dime, something like that. Yeah. Dime, yeah.
Did you buy loaves of bread or did you only make them? Could you buy bread?
Bread. I remember buying bread for 5 cents a loaf.
5 cents a loaf?
I remember that you had the Dion, the Queen triplets, the 5 that were born way back. Dion.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they had a bread named after them, and I was buying it for 5 cents. I was buying 7 pounds of bananas for a quarter. Remember that?
So how did you guys make it through the Depression? What did-
What they did a lot. You didn't eat that well. They had to water down the soup even. Soup all the time.
Really?
Got so sick of soup, it wasn't funny. But we didn't eat that well. We were poor. I remember taking we used to go swimming. A couple kids and I, and we'd take some potatoes and we'd put them in the sand, like, we call it clay. And then we'd make a fire and we'd cook it like that, see?
Oh, yeah.
And we'd get a kick out of that. I remember stealing two, and she caught me and gave me a licking for stealing 2 potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
That's four.
Did you learn to cook from your mom?
No, I didn't. Talk about cooking. I never cooked. Even when my wife wouldn't let me near the stove even. I'd go near there, she said, "This is my territory. You gotta leave me there. You won't let me cook." I don't know what made it, but as far as cleaning the house, no, she didn't do hardly any housework. I did the housework. I didn't have any trouble when she died with that. Because I did it all. I kept the house clean. I wouldn't let her do any floor or anything like that. She wouldn't do them anyway. She wasn't a scrub lady. So I didn't mind it either. But she cooked a lot, good food. And as far as me cooking, when she died, like I said, I didn't have no trouble cleaning the house. But I couldn't cook. With Brian downstairs, Brian's a good cook, very good cook. And he's bring up a few meals, and then I start buying stuff and cooking it and answer a few questions here and there. I'm not a good cook, but I don't go hungry. I do pretty good. They claim I do well. Would you like some? You're done with this?
Almost. What would you like to tell your future family? What would be the most important thing for them to remember about living life?
Living life. Well, one thing you want to remember, they're doing. I'm lucky though. They're doing pretty good now, and I want them to continue that. But I would like to have them go to church. They don't go to church. Very few people go to church now. Very few. That's wrong. That's what's hurting this country a lot, I think. That's my opinion. Now, I see the difference. You've heard me say it before. In myself. Now, after my wife died, I wasn't the best guy, I never did anything really wrong, though. I drank quite a bit. Smoked and drank. I never hurt anybody. I did anything really wrong. But to me, it was wrong. And I didn't get along with the family that was why they were afraid I was out drinking and driving, And of course, on then, I didn't get that way. I didn't get along with the family. I didn't blame, not to worry. An old man feeling aces with a car. I wasn't doing well at all. So when Sister Heaton come here, that cold evening, knocked at the door, and by Jay answered it. And as a rule, they came here a lot. We used to kind of chase them away. Not chase them, we wouldn't answer them. So she started telling me about the church, and she reminded me of some old-fashioned little girl. Something about, what she looked like, the dark hair. Very nice. It sounds like, I said, you know what? Come on in the hallway, it's warmer. So you know what? How can I go wrong? Everything, I'm unhappy. I'm depressed. I'm lonely. I was thinking of committing suicide. I'm just not well. So I said to myself, how can I go wrong? I'm going to join the church. I said, am I too old? She said, oh no, Joe, you're not too old. I said, you sure? I said, I'm pretty old to join the church. She said, no, you'll be fine. And that's when I joined the church. And from that time on, I changed completely. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I get along good with my kids. In fact, come Sunday morning, if I'm not ready for church, they don't like it. What if you don't like it, why don't you go to church? I'm trying to get them to church,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll get Ronnie in time. But that's what I like. My kids, everything seems to be going fine, but it wouldn't hurt. Like Ronnie, he taught school all those years. He's a good kid, but he's very, very nervous. It's bad. In fact, he had to have an operation on his esophagus. That comes from nerves where you have a lot of acid, and it eats you. Some of it eats you, the stomach. Also, sometimes it goes in the esophagus. That's even worse, I think, the stomach.
Wow.
But he's not well. But he's such a good kid, And I keep telling him, I said, Ronald, go to church. Meet nice people. I said, it's another thing I say, the church is so true and everything. But I said, the people are so nice. I said, they wait for me. I go in there on a Sunday, I get hugs, I get handshakes. Makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be liked, Makes you good. Get a little bit of that. You might start feeling better. It can't hurt you. And that's what I want them to do. And I'd like the whole family to do it, That's what I would wish.
Well, that's great.
I got some...
Thank you
something for
so
in the
much.
kitchen.
Thank you so much, Joy, for sharing this time with us.
Is that all right?
It's a priceless treasure. Just to spend, an hour with you telling us about your life.
Did I go too far?
No. You did a beautiful
As
job.
far as how I was brought up, no?
Yes.
I thought maybe I should have come out with that.
No, you were fine.
It's excellent.
Beautiful.
I mean, people are gonna, in the future, there'll be grandchildren born that won't know you, and now they get to see you on tape, and they'll get to see what their grandpa looked like and the kind of life he had.
I had a tough life.
People are gonna appreciate it.
I had a hard life. And then I that's not on you're on there. You still on?
Yes.
That's still on? I'll tell you just a little bit about my married life. From the time I got married, I felt sick when I got out of the service, shortly after I got out. I started to bleed through the rectum.
Mm.
I go to the bathroom, and I see that there, and get up a week, we see blood there. And I let it go, and I went to work like that. So this one day I'm working along, and all of a sudden I felt right there. I bled so much like just like somebody hit in the head. So anyway, they operated on that, and they just started that. Before that, you'd die right off. They got so they could sew that up. If it was perforated, they'd sew it up, and they say that
Was it an ulcer?
ulcers, yeah, bad ulcers. Now, I had those ulcers when I was in the service because they could see where the ulcer was there, and they'll heal by themselves too.
Yeah.
And anyway, then after that, I got another one. So then they were afraid that I won't die each one. So they figured, gee, we better take part of your stomach out because you can't afford any more perforations. But they said we never did that. So I went to the Mass General, and it's like a theater where they had me. The large room with a big, large glass where he operates on you. And all the nurses and doctors were there. They witnessed my operation. Anyway, I just about come through that. Was I sick? Oh, terrible when I woke up. I was bent over like this for 2 weeks. I couldn't even straighten out. You know?
The Veterans Administration should have been taking care of you at that point.
What happened is I couldn't even get any help from them because he said it wasn't service connected.
It was, though.
It wasn't. I went to Rutland and everything, and they said it is. And I never got one penny, not one penny from the vets.
Right, right.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
It is.
because you said you had ulcers when you were in the military.
Right. So anyway, but I didn't complain when I got discharged. That's what they wanted. Imagine that.
Yeah.
But like you said, if I'd have fought it, I'd have got it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I didn't fight it, see.
Right.
Because I told your husband that, you know. So anyway, I had a hard time bringing up my family. I was sick.
Yeah.
And I go in the veteran hospital. Sometimes I stay there 2 months. No wonder was coming in for my wife.
Oh, no.
No, she had it hard, real hard. So, anyway, I had it. I brought up my family more or less sick like, you know.
Yeah.
I feel better now than I ever did, I think.
Wow.
And I worked. My Ronnie could tell you. I worked at meat containers here, and I took a job where I could get overtime, and I worked 16 hours a day, 2 shifts. I did it for years. You know, he could tell you, my Ronnie knows. And he took it as a summer job, and he couldn't even finish his 8 hours. And he was a young guy. How'd you do it? Determination, I guess. Huh? But I did it. Well, anyway, that's why I want to add that. I'll leave it this way. I'm happier now and feeling better now, even at my age, than I did before. Huh?
God's blessing you, I guess.
Yeah.
Stay a little longer and do what you can for other people. You're helping us just by allowing us to be here today.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
You people are so nice.
You're the greatest generation.
I tell you one thing, I've never met, and I've been around a lot, I've met a lot of people in my life. I never met people like you people in the church here. You people are nice, you're nice people. The best.
Well, I know you've told me so many times how much you miss your wife.
Well, it's getting better now, dear. At first, I'd sit here, you know, and I was going bananas, you know. But now I'm getting so I can relax here now. I couldn't for a long time, you know. I can relax. I'm not lonesome.
Right.
Ronnie comes every morning. He's so good to me. He takes me down to play pool a couple times a week. And you should see how I'm playing.
Oh, good.
He said, real good.
I'm gonna call you up and go play pool with you.
Oh, we are. Yeah, come on.
You'll beat
down.
me pretty bad, though.
You play pool with him?
I would.
Well, why don't you come with him?
I will.
You know, I got pictures there of the girls from, that came with me in the Phillips.
Okay.
I had them all down there. You're in the room by yourself. And there's 2 beautiful tables in there. And nice and warm, it's perfect. Nice and clean and warm. So it's perfect if you want to play pool. Come with me. Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, we'll come.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.